Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back to the Complete Husband's Handbook podcast. My name is Daniel, and today we're going to have a little fun. We're going to be breaking some social norms, and we're going to be probably breaking a few hearts too. Now, this is part one of Men and Change. Does he want to change? Is the title of this particular episode. And I've had friends, family, always bring this up, well, men need to change. They're supposed to change. He's not the person I started dating, or he's not the person I fell in love with. Well, usually whenever we bring up the topic of change, we always ask the wrong question. It's not, can a man change? Yes, men change all the time. But will he change? Does he want to change? Is there a reason to change? That depends. So we're going to look at a few things here as to why a man will change. Number one, a man will change for his social group. We men are fiercely loyal. That's why they say, man's best friend is a dog. We are loyal to those who are closest to us. Men are pack animals. We are. It's just one of the things. God made us that way. Why? Let's just wait till we're all dead and ask God. So we want our pack to succeed. We do. Now, not all of us are the big burly alpha wolves. Some of us are sheepdogs. Some of us are collies. Some of us are, just different dogs. But we want each of us to succeed. Real packs, real friends. We want our fellows to find mates, build families, have successful jobs, really achieve whatever we want in life. So if we're called in the middle of the night, say, hey, I'm broken down somewhere, we're going to go get you. Even though God knows we don't want to get out of bed. Or, hey, I'm trying to find work. Can you help me out? Sure, I'll talk to my boss. See what we can do. Now, that doesn't mean that they're guaranteed to get a job or they're guaranteed anything. But it's the fact that we change usually our schedule or our time, how we invest our time in our social group. And that's just not friends, it's also family. We change for our families. Sometimes when I'm talking to my brothers, because I have older brothers, in fact, all my brothers are older than me, the dynamic changes. Sometimes I'm the leader in the group. Sometimes the brother right above me, he's the leader in the group. So our dynamic changes depending on the experience, depending on the topic. Keep in mind, my oldest brother's a cop. My next oldest brother works in a warehouse, and the one right above me is a nurse. So we all have different strengths. We all have different experiences based on, life. So we change, quote unquote, social status based on what's going on. And we have to in order to survive. That's how packs exist. Yes, there's the alpha, but it doesn't mean that they're always charging in. If you ever see a wolf pack traveling, there's a few of the younger ones up front with maybe a seasoned hunter. The pups and maybe the sick or the infirmed or the older or in the middle, then the rest of the fighting pack, and then the alpha is usually at the back making sure there's no stragglers. So men do change, and we change particularly or most drastically whenever we're all out and about and it's a guy's night and we have a single friend, right? And we'll usually tone ourselves down to play up the other one who's single so he can find a mate, so he can maybe get, find some love in his life. And what that means is different for different people. But we do tend to tone ourselves down so that any potential, girlfriend or whoever's out there, and whether you're gay or straight, it's the exact same way. We as men who are in committed relationships We'll take ourselves out of the picture so that our single friends will be able to have relationships. Now, probably the one where we do the most change is at work. Sadly, work nowadays screws everybody. There is no retirement. There's no you're going to work your ass off, and the companies kind of reward that. That's a lie. Those companies don't exist anymore, unless you're doing some shady stuff too. But we always have to learn new skills. There's always a new program. There's always a new system that can do it better, faster, quicker, stronger, whatever. And it usually ends up blowing up in people's faces because it's not tried, it's not tested. But some egghead straight out of college with no practical work experience says, well, I've read this book, so we're going to be doing this. No. I'm all for higher knowledge. I'm all for college degrees, but it has to be tempered with experience. Don't spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on systems that inevitably crash in a week. Trust me, I've been part of multi-billion-dollar Fortune 500 companies that have wasted more money than God has on just the stupidest systems because they never talk to their workers. Hey, do you think that this would work? No. Would do it anyway. And then it fails, and then they blame the worker. So, we have to change there. There's always equipment or skills or a program. Technology changes, so we have to change. Then there's training new workers. Sadly, a lot of quote-unquote adult men don't know how to work. They spend more time on their phones, more time falling asleep in the bathroom, more time just derping around than actually doing their job. So it creates, sadly, a group of trainers that are jaded. So when they get someone who comes into work, they have a fear. They have a fear that their job's going to be gone. They have a fear that someone's going to come in and they're one of those secret people from corporate to make sure everything's fine. So there's a lot of dancing and there's a lot of moving and there's a lot of self-preservation, sadly, with corporate. And when I mean corporate, I mean any industry, from customer service to machine work to skilled laborers to whatever. And then there's the one that yeah, I did a heavy sigh. There's the one where it's become extremely popular to do. We as men change how we act because we don't want to get Me Too'd. So we're not social. We don't talk to people. There's no good morning, good evening, how's it going, you look nice, how was your weekend? We just don't talk to people anymore. Because there's the growing fear that we're going to show up to work, there's our direct supervisor, there's our manager, we got to go to HR because Becky Sue down there, pissed off at the world, said we said something, and we know HR's going to believe her. I've seen this too many times. And where there are good women at work who support men, and men in the office know who they are and they support her, there's this growing number of women who are just bitter. And they're bitter because they choose to be. So when us men want to spend time with women who actually treat us like human beings, these bitter women look for ways to get rid of us. Look for ways to hurt us. Not because we did anything wrong, but because they're just bitter. So we change how we act at work. We're not sociable. We don't talk to people. We don't interact with people. If you need me, send an email. I've actually had corporate bosses tell members of the opposite sex, if you need me, send an email. Or talk to someone who is of your gender. Because they don't want to get sued. They don't want to get fired. And sadly, that takes away from instances where there is actual sexual harassment, and instead creates an environment of everybody's on edge. And so we're dancing and juking and jiving and, trying not to get, pegged with a Me Too slap. So, yeah, on top of we having to learn new systems and programs and train a bunch of lazy little fuckers, we're trying to make sure we're not getting slapped with a sexual harassment lawsuit, because that'll stay on your labor record for years. But probably the most important reason why men change, and we will change on top of the previous two, is we change for love. Okay? We want our spouse. Whether you're, gay or straight, we want our spouse to be comfortable. It is a drive within men to build a home, to build a sanctuary where our spouse can be comfortable. And I just don't mean, top notch, satin sheets and silk whatevers. Comfortable to their liking. Give you a prime example. My wife, before we got married, kind of half jokingly told me that she sleeps with a stuffed animal. And at first, I took it as a bit of a joke, and then she realized that particular hint, quote unquote, wasn't going to work. So she told me straight up, she's like, hey, I sleep with a Stitch from Lilo and Stitch that's about the size of a teddy bear. I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. I don't care. Now, over the years, I've gotten her varying different stuffed animals. She likes Baymax from Big Hero 6. Recently, she got a stuffed cat that almost looks like a pillow. We call the stuffed animal Mochi, which is, again, a character from Big Hero 6. But I don't care that she sleeps with a stuffed animal. I honestly don't. But because I want her to be comfortable. I want her to feel safe in our home. And that's whatever that means. And that's individual to your relationship. Whether you're with a man or a woman, men want that. And that's comfortable with music, comfortable with food, comfortable with furnishings or trappings or whatever you want to call them. We want them to feel like it's their home. Usually to our detriment, where we're usually exiled to the garage and that's where you can have your stuff. Or if you believe Hollywood. But men can't change, we as men can't change our core self. We can't. And to the confusion of potential partners, if you're a lion, if you're an alpha male, if you're very loud and bombastic in the life of the party, you're not going to suddenly change to be something you're not. If you're quiet spoken, you're not going to be the rough and tumble biker. So you have to know who you love. And we as men realize that. Now, there are things that I've done that I've toned a lot of things back because it makes my wife a bit uncomfortable. I half joke that I'm like, Gimli from the Lord of the Rings. I'm a rough and tumble kind of guy. I can get physical at times, both in a good way and a bad way, depending on the circumstance. But I'm very fiercely loyal, but I don't put up with a whole lot of shit. I'm brash, and that's just how I am. Now, my wife is very, I guess you could call her elvish. Galadriel would probably be the best way to describe my wife. She's very refined in what she likes. There's a poise about her. She was trained in the arts. She can paint. She can sculpt to a certain extent. She can do pottery. She can do watercolor. She, knows how to write and very poetically write, and it's beautifully done. Where I'm not that way. I'm pretty much the opposite. In a lot of the things. And so, I have to kind of tone back how I am. And she knows that. And there are times when she'll let me cut loose. And I appreciate those times because I need them. I need to be able to kind of cut loose and let the kind of dwarvish, personality come out. But she knows who she married. I was honest and upfront with her about who I am and how I am. And she was honest and upfront with me about who she is and how she is. And so that kind of translates. Yes, we can't change our core self. But, as men, we become trainable for the person we love. Whether that's in how our spouse likes to have a particular food, how they fold the towels, just, trash, just how they load the dishwasher, whatever. I'm thinking about all the ways that my wife and I do things different, and that's okay. Like it used to drive my wife crazy how I loaded the dishwasher, but it still got us clean. And for her, she likes things just so, and I like things just so. But again, folding the towels a particular way, if that's how she wants them, okay, I'm fine with that. I don't really care. But, doing things her way, more often than not, saves us a headache. And it's that trust we put in our spouse. And it's that surrender that we give someone we honestly love and cherish. To say, I'm used to doing things one way, but I'm going to surrender this for you because I love you and I care about you and I want you to be comfortable. Not just physically comfortable, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually comfortable. So we do things her way because, or his way, depending on who you're with. But we as men recognize, now I can only speak because I'm married to a woman, so y'all tolerate that a minute. Men recognize change in our spouses. We do, and we return that in kind. And I'll give y'all some examples most people never really think about. Men tend to be quiet whenever they sense the wife is pissed off. I do that with my wife, where she may not be pissed off at me, she could just be pissed off at something. And I'll sit there and I'll be quiet. I won't say anything, not because I quote unquote fear her, but because I know when she's ready to talk about it, we'll talk about it. Or if she wanted me to know, she'll tell me. Now, whether that, might be toxic masculinity or whatever chicken shit that, the liberals come up with. No, it's I'm waiting for her so that when she's ready, she'll tell me what's going on. Number 2, men tend not to do anything. And it's that waiting period that we're saying, hey, I'm here. I'm solid. If you need to lean on me, if you need to cry, you need to hit me with a pillow, you need to scream bloody murder, you need me to go get you some chocolate, like whatever you need, I'm here for you. And it's that stability men offer more often than not that women don't even realize. When we're there for you, even if it's just our presence, we're there because we know you need something. We just don't know what it is. And more often than not, asking leads to more issues. And again, it rolls into the last one. We don't tend to ask questions, but we check on you from time to time. Now, I do this with my wife quite a bit, where if she's sick, she's kind of like me, just leave me alone. I'm sick, just let me be sick. I'll pass by, and I'll look at her, and I'll check on her, and I'll see if she needs anything. I'll check if she's asleep. If she's got a water bottle near her, I'll make sure it's got water, but I don't want to disturb her. I want her to be comfortable. or if she's focusing on something, because she works from home, she has her own business, I'll kind of poke my head in and I'll just see what she's doing. Not that I'm nosy or have to control her. I just want to make sure she's good. But that needs to be reciprocated too. Yes, men can change, and we will change. And more often than not, we want to change if, and only if, the one we're with is willing to change too. So I'm going to pose a question to y'all before I close part 1 down. Are you willing to change for the person you love? If so, feel free to comment, shoot me an email, and I look forward to talking with y'all in part 2.